will not hurt those of us who stand on this floor, and we will not allow it to hurt those who we represent. It will be a focused roadmap for all of us to work for a great and wonderful promised land that Martin King dreamed about and spoke about a few years ago. With that, I yield back to the gentleman.
I thank the gentlelady from Texas for very poignant observations on a variety of different issues concerning the comprehensive immigration reform issue. I'd just like to amplify for a moment one point that was made as it relates to the significance of the diversity visa lottery program. It's a program that in its conception is designed to make sure that immigrants from underrepresented parts of the world have an opportunity to come to America and participate in the American dream. And in the context of this diversity visa lottery program, approximately 20% of the African immigrants who are here in this country are here as a result of participating in that program. It has been an instrumental vehicle for ensuring diversity as it relates to the presence of immigrants from the African continent who, by the way, statistics have shown tend to be more educated in their attainment of college degrees than any other immigrant group. And as a result, they are very much contributing to moving the society forward. And for that reason, I believe it will be important for the CBC to continue to stand up for this program as we move forward with comprehensive immigration reform. And so I thank the gentlelady for those observations.
For just one quick moment, I want to applaud him for that and just add two groups that we did not mention yet that will really be impacted by comprehensive immigration reform. Liberians who came here on deferred enforcement, who are now still in limbo and worked with us over the years, and we've been, if you would say, advocates for them, and Haitians who have a distinctive pathway into citizenship, who have certainly been contributing, fought with us in the Revolutionary War, and you're absolutely right. The diversity visa has been a lifeline, not for terrorists, but a lifeline for hardworking immigrants. And I hope that when we debate this, as I said, mountains of tension or a disagreement, that we can find common ground to include all these groups that will help better America and grow America strong. Thank you for that, and I yield back.
Thank you. One of the things that we hope to accomplish today as we move forward in the context of advancing this immigration reform debate is making sure that the facts surrounding the issue of immigration are well known. This is a nation of immigrants and it's a nation of laws. And some have articulated the concern that we must secure the border before we can move forward and create a pathway towards citizenship for those who are in the country and undocumented. Much has been made about the southwestern border in particular, and the gentleman from Nevada, I believe, has some statistics that he can speak to as to the progress that has been made in securing the border, points that were also made by the gentlelady from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, I'd like to thank the gentleman from New York for yielding and to expound on some of the points that the gentlelady from Texas made, Ms. Jackson Lee, in regards to the tremendous progress that has been made on strengthening the border. She touched on the doubling of the number of Border Patrol agents from 10,000 to 20,000, 21,000 agents in just the past year. That's a doubling since 2004 of resources. And this is tremendous in that it actually is the largest per year enforcement of any other federal law enforcement combined. It's $17.6 billion worth of enforcement on our border. And so progress has been made. And the deportations signify that. Half of these deportations have been to individuals who committed crimes, illegal crimes, and were deported for that reason. But let me also touch on another element which the gentlelady also discussed, and that is immigration. And the history of immigration policy in our country has always focused on the family and keeping the family together and reuniting family members. And so we have to be careful when we talk about deportation what that means for individuals, because this is a human rights issue. In my district, in Congressional District 4, I met with a group of citizens on Sunday before the President came, and there was one family there who explained to me a situation where the family members, the mother had been deported, and the children now are in foster care. They cannot be reunited with their family because of the status issues, and that is something that is having a human toll because we have a broken immigration system that must be fixed. And that has always been a cornerstone of our immigration policy in this country, has been the focus on keeping our families together, not just on labor or economic issues, which should be at the forefront as well. And so enforcement has been a big cornerstone and should be a major cornerstone of this policy going forward. But the pathway to citizenship is the cornerstone, and I believe the Congressional Black Caucus, as a stakeholder in this discussion, working with our colleagues on the other side and in the other chamber, must articulate why there cannot be a precondition of a litmus test on border security in order to provide for a pathway to citizenship that so many individuals depend on. Let me also discuss one other element of a comprehensive immigration reform that is necessary, and it's important to my district in Congressional District 4, and that's the focus on enhancing travel and tourism. The administration under President Obama is committed to increasing U.S. travel and tourism by facilitating legitimate travel while maintaining our nation's security. Consistent with the President's executive order on travel and tourism, the President's proposal securely streamlines visa and foreign visitor processing. It also strengthens law enforcement cooperation while maintaining the program's robust counterterrorism and criminal information sharing initiatives. It facilitates more efficient travel by allowing greater flexibility to designate countries for participation in the visa waiver program, which allows citizens of designated countries to visit the United States without obtaining a visa. And finally, it permits the State Department to waive interview requirements for certain very low-risk visa applicants, permitting resources to be focused on higher-risk applicants, and creates a pilot for premium visa processing. So these are all of the components that have to be part of the comprehensive immigration reform. These are the tenets by which the Congressional Black Caucus, working with the Congressional Hispanic Caucus and the Asian Pacific Caucus, believe are the cornerstones and the principles that any comprehensive immigration bill should be passed. And I wave back to the gentleman.
Thank you, Congressman Horsford. We have been joined by our distinguished classmate, the gentleman from Texas, Congressman Mark Vesey, who represents an extremely diverse district in the Dallas area, has been a tremendous thought leader on this issue, and it's my honor to yield to the gentleman from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffries, and I want to thank my colleague Hakeem Jeffries from the great state of New York and Mr. Horsford for their leadership on this issue. They too understand how important that we speak out on this issue that is not only important to our constituents and our states, but to the entire country. And Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to address the Chamber on the very important topic of comprehensive immigration reform. I would also like to express my gratitude to the Congressional Black Caucus for not only their leadership on this issue, but also for allowing me, as a member of the caucus, to continue this meaningful and urgent discussion. As members of Congress, it is our duty to be the voice of our constituents by creating and passing legislation that addresses their concerns. For much too long, 11 million voices have waited for Congress to work together on comprehensive immigration reforms in neighborhoods like the ones I represent in Dallas and in Fort Worth, in Oak Cliff, which is in Dallas, and on the north side of Fort Worth. This is an issue that is very important, not only to those neighborhoods, but to the neighborhoods in the entirety of the district that I represent. The consensus on this issue has never been stronger, and I'm proud to see members on both sides of the aisle working together and finding a practical solution to this problem while President Obama leads the way. I applaud comprehensive immigration reform efforts, including the proposals put forth by the President and bipartisan groups of senators, which call for protecting our borders while respecting the unity and sanctity of our families. Our undocumented immigrant community includes dreamer school children that are excelling in math and science, wanting only to attend college in the only country they've ever known, and hardworking men and women that are only trying to make an honest living and provide for their families. Comprehensive immigration reform is about accountability and responsible public policy. It is not feasible, economical, or moral to propose the deportation of 11 million people that are living and working hard in our country. What reform calls for is responsible public policy that provides certainty to employers that people wanting to work are legally eligible to do so, thereby bringing a significant population of our country out of the shadows. Mr. Speaker, our borders are more secure than ever before. Border security is a serious issue, and we must continue to enforce our laws, but we can also enact a fair immigration system by working together. Providing appropriate protections to undocumented workers, including fair wages and safe working conditions, is the right thing to do to ensure the development of our economy and our nation's security. As Congressman from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, I understand the necessity of bipartisanship on this issue. My first days in office have been devoted to relationships and coalition building on both sides of the aisle. I look forward to continuing those efforts and will not stop until we achieve a fair and comprehensive immigration reform plan. I will work closely with my friends in the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, the Congressional Black Caucus, and all of my colleagues that would like to join this effort. The voices of those in my district and across the country are being heard. It's time to make comprehensive immigration reform a reality. Thank you. I yield back my time.
I thank the gentleman from Texas, and as he indicated, the time is now for us to move forward, to find common ground, to figure out how we can advance this issue in a manner that respects the security concerns that have been articulated, but also recognizes that 6 years ago, several benchmarks were set forth for security measures to be reached in order for comprehensive immigration reform and a pathway toward citizenship to be created. 6 years ago, there was a call for at least 20,000 border protection agents. Right now, there are 21,400 border protection agents. 6 years ago, there was a call for a fence to be constructed along the southern border of approximately 670 miles, although our border security folks have said they believe a fence would be adequate that is 652 miles, 651 miles of which have already been constructed. There was a call for video surveillance assets. These are cameras and radar deployed along the borders of this country. The call was 6 years ago for 105 such video surveillance assets. Mr. Speaker, right now there are more than 250 deployed in the United States of America. We have met or exceeded the security benchmarks that have been set. That's why it's time for us to move forward with comprehensive immigration reform. We've also been joined by another distinguished colleague of ours, the gentleman from Newark, New Jersey, and I yield such time as he may consume.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me first say thank you from the gentleman from New York, gentleman across the river. We are looking forward to having a great working relationship, and also the gentleman from Nevada, who has distinguished himself very early in this Congress as well. Let me just say, as we debate this issue, we must not forget that we are a nation of immigrants, and it is our rich history of immigration that has strengthened this country generation after generation. Yes, we must secure our borders, but we must also recognize that there have been a record number of deportations and seizures over the last 4 years. This issue of border security cannot be used as a fear tactic to prevent progress. In my district, people migrate from all over the globe, not just from Latin America, but from the Caribbean and Africa as well, and Asia. And they are all in search of the same thing, for pursuit of the American dream. Children who were brought here through no fault of their own and think of themselves as Americans wait in limbo. So we have a moral obligation to fix our broken system. It is not only the right thing to do, but it is the practical thing to do. Over 11 million undocumented workers live in our communities. They go to our schools and they work among us every day. It is time for Congress to provide these 11 million people the chance to come out of the shadows without the specter of deportation hanging over their heads. It is also time.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity for the CBC. I want to thank the distinguished members of the CBC, including my colleague from Nevada, Congressman Horsford, for his leadership and for his eloquence and for the facts that he's brought to bear. And thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. I yield back to you the balance of our time.
Okay, the gentleman's time has expired.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
The question is on the motion to adjourn. Those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Accordingly, the House stands adjourned until 10 a.m. for morning hour debate.
So the House has finished legislative work for the day. Members today considered 2 bills. One provides funding for training medical students at children's hospitals, and the other expands pediatric medical research. Tomorrow, the House is back in session at noon Eastern for legislative business, with live coverage here on C-SPAN.